What comes to your mind when thinking about Vienna? It is probably something like Sissi, Fire, Mozart, Schönbrunn Castle, or the St. Stephen's Cathedral, or things like Schnitzel, or maybe even Fritzl. But for sure,
Skiern einstellen beim Würstelstandl. Prost, Burschen.
Prost. 12,
but what if I told you that there is a 120-kilometer long distance hiking path around the city on its green belt? Join me hiking the Rundumadum Weg. There are 24 stages and most of them are super short, making it possible to hike with every amount of time or fitness level. Another great thing is that every start and end of a stage is connected to Vienna's great public transport system. And as your accommodation is probably somewhere in the city, or like in my case you are lucky enough to live here, there is no need to carry a tent or lots of other stuff in your heavy backpack. A day pack with water and some snacks is usually enough. The path is marked pretty well with these little signs, and there is also an app called Stadt Wien where you can see the path marked in a map. We start the journey in Nussdorf, right next to the Danube River. Here is a train, bus and tram station, and it's about 20 to 25 minutes from the city center. I walk most of the trail alone, but for the first day I packed some friends. We start to walk along the promenade, where we can see many of the cruise and cargo ships, and also past the place where we found a nice little dye snake about 2 years ago. Soon we reach the absolute outskirts of Vienna, and the steepest climb of the whole trail lies ahead of us. But trust me, it will absolutely pay off. This is the Nasenweg, which translates to nose trail. It leads you up the Leopoldsberg with 425 meter, rather a hill than a mountain, but still a place you should visit. The sole reason for that is that already while hiking up the nose trail, and especially from the lookout near the Leopold's church, you have, in my opinion, the most amazing views of Vienna. On the way up the Leopoldsberg, you can see some of the pubescent oaks. They are usually native to more temperate regions like the Mediterranean area and lots of parts of France, but mainly the Atlantic coast, and they're very, very rare here in Austria, and Kahlenberg Leopoldsberg is one of the regions where you can find them. On the outer wall of the church topping Leopoldsberg, we refreshed ourselves at the fountain. You usually can visit the church, however, when we arrived there in October 2024, the church was closed. After the steep climb like this, you gotta treat yourself with a late breakfast, and in Vienna it's absolutely acceptable to have beer for breakfast. Weiter mal. Spritzwein is also acceptable, and also don't forget your Wurstsemmel from Billa. Prost, Richie. We continued our walk and passed the rather touristy area on the Kahlenberg, which has a cafe, restaurant and some souvenir shops, as well as the Kahlenberg or St. Joseph's Church. A bit hidden in the woods, just behind the place, is a little bench which remembers of Empress Sissi, who used to visit this place often. Just a short walk later, we find the first observation tower of today. This one is named after the person who commissioned it, Crown Princess Stephanie. It was opened in 1887, and today you can visit it on weekends. After our second break, we went on to Kubenzl. This is a massive and well-known winery, and also includes a restaurant and some farm animals. The trail circulates here, so if you're not planning on eating here or trying their wine, you can also skip this part, as there isn't really much to see and you save a couple of kilometers. Soon we're going to reach Hermannskogel, the highest point of Vienna, but before that, let me show you something. This is a Wanderpass, so your kind of pilgrim's passport for the Rundumadum Weg, like on the Camino or other pilgrimages or other hiking trails like the Loop in Poland that we did last year. You can collect some stamps. They are at some restaurants along the way. That looks a bit weird, but it could be kind of a hamster. So in the end you can go to the city hall in Vienna and collect your pin as a reminder, as a souvenir for the Rundumadum Weg, which is quite a nice idea, I think. So this part is quite slippery when it's wet, so maybe here you would need quite good shoes. Anyway, I'm using running shoes because much of the trail you walk on concrete. They're just most comfortable and usually absolutely fine with them. So this is the Habsburgwarte. Basically this is the highest point of Vienna because we're at the Hermannskogel and the summit is somewhere 20 meters back there. I think it's 540 something meters.
Built in 1888, the Habsburgwarte works as a lookout. It was also used as a fundamental point or kilometer zero, mile zero, meaning that it was the starting point for surveying the land. The next stretch is a great walk through the forest, mixed with meadows where you can find many interesting plants depending on the season you walk it. Colchicum autumnale, also known as the autumn crocus, is a striking yet toxic plant that blooms in the fall, often before its leaves even appear. Native to Europe and parts of Western Asia, its purple flowers resemble crocuses but are actually from a completely different plant family. Though it looks harmless, the plant contains colchicine, a potent alkaloid that can cause severe poisoning if ingested. Historically, it was even used as a method of assassination. Despite its dangers, colchicine has medical value and is still used today to treat gut and inflammatory diseases under strict supervision.
So we have a new member on our hike. This is Manu, and he's a fucking passionate hiker, fucking veteran, because he has all of the hiking pins you can get in Vienna. That's amazing. Nice job. Do you want to say something?
Es war nicht leicht, aber da sind's. Da ist man wer, wenn man sowas hat.
What made this day very special, aside of the amazing views of Vienna and walking through the calm forests, was the fact that it was one of the rare occasions I could hike with my friends. Traveling is fun and I'm really super grateful for all the adventures I had in the last couple of years, but being home with family and friends after such a long time was an unbelievable good feeling. Basically, the last goal of today are the Steinhofgründe, a huge park and recreational area on the western end of Vienna. We met here with my friend Dani, who is a biologist, and will show us something super cool later. This will happen after sunset, which gives me time to go a little off trail, because
I wanted to show you this. This is one of the craziest buildings in whole Vienna, in my opinion. This is the Otto Wagner Church.
actually it's the Church of St. Leopold, designed by Austrian architect Otto Wagner. If you did a day tour through Vienna, there is a high chance that you came across his name, cause even for me as a local it sometimes feels like he built Vienna on his own. The Stadtbahnbögen viaduct, for example, goes on his credit, some stations like Hitzing as well, or the Otto Wagner Hospital just next to the church where he's doing. And while I don't understand much about architecture, I can assure you that this church looks absolutely incredible. Let's get back to our little wildlife mission. We tried our luck by spotting some badgers, and I gotta be honest, I had to spend 5 long evenings here to get all these shots together, but it was worth it. Also, the badgers are my friends now, so don't you fuck with me, they got my back. Anyway, one day while having a walk, Dani found a set. A set is the system of tunnels and rooms that badgers used to sleep and spend their days in. As generations of badgers build up these sets, they can get huge, like absolutely immense, like this one. It also protects them from bigger predators, of course. Another interesting fact about these sets is that badgers and foxes and even bunnies share one set sometimes. Within and around the set, they all get along with each other. In German, it is called Burgfrieden, which means something like peace in the castle. As soon as it gets dark, they get active and are looking for food. They are omnivores and their main food source are earthworms, but they also supplement the diet with fruits, berries, insects and smaller mammals, as well as eggs and even nestlings of ground nesting birds. When food is scarce, they can also feed on carrion. In Europe there are only two animals that regularly feed on badger, the wolf and the lynx, which means here in Vienna they are safe. What is a way bigger threat to them is of course traffic and the destruction of their habitat.
Welcome to day 2. Today we start from Hütteldorf and we'll finish in Alteala. Right now I'm a bit off the original path, but there is something I really want to show you. I don't know how many people that live in Vienna know about this, because it was totally new for me, but apparently here right next to the Wienfluss there are gravestones. See, you can still see read the name. Here ruht Herr Franz Hauer. Closer maybe even can identify his job or some date. The simple reason why this is 60, 70, 80 years ago there was a shortage of money, of course. It was just after the Second World War, so it was quite common to use old gravestones that are not longer needed. Usually they would put it upside down. This one I would say, this also looks like a gravestone, but there is nothing can be seen. So usually they would put it upside down so that you don't see at first sight that it is a gravestone. Apparently at some here they forgot to do that. So now we're back on the trail. The Nikolai Tor, the Nikolai Gate, entrance to the Leinzer Tiergarten. It was first the hunting ground for the Austrian emperors, and now it's actually a protected area, a nature reserve. Many animals inside. Some are gated, some are roaming free. Let me tell you a bit more about that.
It was first mentioned in 1457 when the imperial court used to hunt here. Then plenty of things happened. In the 1780s, the 22-kilometer long wall around it had been built. It first became a protected area during the Second World War. Much of the wood got cut down and nearly all animals killed after the Second World War. In 1988, it got the status it has until this day as a nature reserve. While it is not a classical nature reserve, which in my opinion should be without walls and fences, it is still an amazing place which inhabits some rare animals and plant species that live here freely, like the white-backed woodpecker. One species that we have to mention are wild boars. They have a pretty bad reputation, but are usually quite shy animals that shy away from people. Also, they are super important for the ecosystem. They are kinda landscapers, like beavers. One of the cool things they do is that by wallowing in puddles in the same spot over and over again, they dig them deeper and often compact the soil. This creates temporary ponds that are important egg-laying sites for many insects or spawning sites for amphibians, such as the yellow-bellied toad.
The stage is really cool. It's a huge park, you can see so much. Now we will actually see a lot. We will go to a restaurant, get the second stamp. We will see a cool villa. And actually I see so many woodpeckers and other birds. As soon as I can focus on them with the camera, they're gone.
After about an hour and a half, I reached a restaurant called Rohrhaus, which is the point where I collected my second stamp.
Regarding the stamp at Rohrhaus, so I went inside the restaurant and asked, hey, guys, can you give me the stamp? And they were like, it was stolen. But they gave me a different one, which also says Rohrhaus. The idea of the stamps is pretty cool because it's always an animal that can be found in Vienna, some rare ones, and also some of the, like here it would be the wild boar, of course. We're at the Hermes Villa. It was designed and built by Karl Freiherr von Hasenauer, a very famous architect of his time. It was a present from Emperor Franz Josef for his wife, Empress Sissi. And it was called the Castle of Dreams. It's a fucking impressive place actually. Nowadays it serves as a museum, which you can of course also visit if you got the time. And it rains. There's no forecast for that, but well, hope it doesn't last too long.
Now I made a little 10 minutes detour to show you something really special. This is the Church of Holy Trinity, or Wotruba Church, named after Fritz Wotruba, who designed it. It was completed in 1976, a year after his death. The church is constructed from 152 massive concrete blocks, arranged in a raw, geometric style reflecting brutalism.
So the path now gets way more urban. It's gonna get a bit more tricky to see all the signs, all the way marking. There's also the app. There is a good route on the Mut. Shouldn't be a problem to navigate.
On the next few kilometers, we will follow the Liesing-Bach. In the early 20th century, the creek was regulated, and since then, it looks like this. A concrete stream which isn't particularly the best for biodiversity or anything else. But well, that's how most of the flowing water bodies in cities look like nowadays. But there are also good news. The Liesing will be brought back to kind of its original state as good as possible. Where we are walking now, it is still a concrete canal, but we pass also a place where it was renaturalized in 2020.
So the rain is getting stronger again, but look at this. This is so cool, so wild. A lot of different habitats, and this is what's important. This is how to boost, how to support biodiversity. I'm getting tired. My legs and feet hurt mainly because of the concrete, I think. Not the best for your feet to walk on concrete all the time. That's unavoidable on this trail. But I think overall it pays off. Like, I think it's a really cool trail, and even or maybe because it's not such a typical long distance trail, that makes a specific charm. Finally made it to the end point of today's stage. What you can see behind me is the living complex Aldeala. When it was built, it was designed to be kind of a city in the city, living complex of the future. Like, you have the apartments, also in the lower levels you have shopping possibilities, barbers, all the stuff you can imagine you maybe would need or not. You even don't need to leave the complex to get to the metro, to the U-Bahn. And this is exactly where I will go now. Good morning, we're back on the trail. Day 3 of the Rundumadum Weg. Today will be very flat, mostly concrete. We will walk through a bunch of parks. We'll cross the Danube Island, Donauinsel. We will visit the Zentralfriedhof, the biggest cemetery in Vienna. What else? Let's see.
We still follow the Liesing and now slowly enter the part that is under construction and partly renaturalized. There is a project running, and to be honest, I'm often a bit skeptical about renaturarization stuff, cause sometimes it is just political bullshit and they put a bunch of random green stuff somewhere and they think they save the planet. Now, the project regarding the Liesing-Bach actually includes a system that makes sense, using only native plants, creating many different habitats, and that is exactly how it should be. Not only will flora and fauna profit massively from it, it also helps a bit with flood management, and it creates a nice place to hang out for people too.
While all this doesn't look like much at the moment, it will have a huge impact on wildlife and biodiversity here. You have to give it a bit of time, of course. And that's kind of the sad thing, you know. It's like nowadays it takes hours, days to destroy ecosystems, but it will take years for them to like kind of fully recover.
Next stop is the Wiener Berg Park. This is a very well-known spot for fishes as well as people who enjoy skinny dipping. Besides that, there are a load of birds to spot. At this time of the year, besides the water birds, you can spot the jays collecting oaks. They store them for the winter, which makes them basically flying squirrels. Right after the exit of the park, you find the third standpoint.
I had to go inside. There was no box or anything outside. This is a bit not so cool. So you have to be here when they are open.
After crossing another park and some agricultural fields, we slowly make our way to the cultural highlight of today, the Wiener Zentralfriedhof.
So now we're at the Wiener Zentralfriedhof, the Viennese Central Cemetery. Don't feel bad for walking through it. It's something that people that live here do as well. Like they use it kind of like a park.
And here we're gonna make a cut. Part 2 will be out on the 1st of January, so you can listen to my lovely voice while curing your hangover. I hope you enjoyed this little hike and that you will join in again next week. If so, like, subscribe to the channel, Merry Christmas to everyone who celebrates, have a great New Year, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!